Hello, YouTube, and welcome to Level-Headed News. This is your host, Brenda. I've got a whole bunch of articles here for you in this episode this morning. They're in the description of the video for your convenience. The first one here is off of Conservative Tribune. It says, breaking, North Korean soldiers spotted playing volleyball at nuclear missile site. So let's see what this has to say. Just to scroll her up here a little bit for us. Images from a North Korea watch group showed bizarre activity taking place around the country's nuclear no one was looking for at the time of international confrontation with the United States. The 38 North Monitoring Organization said satellite imagery captured on Sunday showed personnel at the guard barracks and two other areas at the Punji-Rai test site volleyball, according to Aegeans, and I'm guessing that's how that's pronounced. The images came amid heightened tensions between Pyongyang and Washington, as experts believed a North Korean nuclear test was imminent. Needless to say, scenes of volleyball games at the test site were not exactly what observers had been expecting. I'll get the hamster roller up here a little bit more. It suggests that the facility might be going into standby mode. Joseph Bermudez, specialist and analyst, told Rutgers. However, Bermudez, the North Koreans likely knew that the U.S. would be looking into their nuclear facilities and could have been conducting the volleyball games as a way to fool unfriendly eyes. Is a complex of tunnels and testing infrastructure in the mountains in the northeast of North Korea, according to it is primed and ready to conduct a nuclear test. And get it scrolled up a little bit more past the advertisements. There we go. It says there's a video in here that you can check out. It says, check out this report from Seoul, South Korea, based Arirang News. The images show workers playing volleyball at North Korean nuclear facility. Right. It says North Korean leader Kim Jong-un launched a missile on Sunday, but millions around the world, and as a testament to the true capabilities of the communist, reclusive country, the missile was an epic fail as it blew up almost immediately after its launch. Many experts predicted a nuclear test would take place on April the 15th, 105th anniversary of the birth of North Korean founder Kim Il-sung. From April the 12th suggested that North Korea had placed a nuclear device in the tunnels site, according to the Daily Caller. The hamster a little bit here. Says that test never happened, however, which caused monitors to observe the site again, finding only personnel playing volleyball. What that one has to say. Off of Conservative Tribune. Photos highlight North Korean subway bunkers. As soon as the hamster decides to roll her up here a little bit, I'm beginning to think that hamster's kind of lazy. North Korea's Pyongyang Metro is the deepest metro system in the world at around 360 feet, which gives it the unique ability to double as a nuclear bunker should the need for one ever arise. Photos taken of the city's subway system, which is completely underground, revealed an elaborate system with chandeliers and large murals. Australian travel blogger Elliot Davies communist city for a government-sanctioned tour last fall that included the city's subways. His photos captured a segment of the metro many have seen. that it takes almost 4 minutes to reach the train platforms on fast-moving escalators. Hallways in the station are protected by thick steel doors, which are most noticeable at and Kayasan stations. Pictures of it here if you want to. This article. And the hamster is spinning in the wheel here, trying to get past these pictures. I'm gonna have to bring that Easter bunny back, I do believe. It's easy to see how this area could double as a, and it is huge. And get it to scroll up a little bit more. It's looking to be fired. Okay, according to the Chazalabo, well, now he went a little too far. Chazalabo, defector from the country, said that a second underground system is hidden below the public metro. A former secretary of the North Korean Workers' Party told the publication that there are countless secret tunnels and underground facilities in Pyongyang. Images taken of the metro also revealed well-kept and clean subway with walls filled with large murals and mosaics, some honoring the late Korean Supreme Leader Kim Il-sung. The subway the subway also had several statues honoring Kim. The metro consists of 2 lines with 17 stations. Only have tourists been allowed to see more than 2 of those stations, some of which were widely thought not to exist. It appears they do exist, and it would also seem that the North Korean government is intent on using them for reason. The next article that we have here, libertyheadlines.com. Attack fears as multiple cities hit with power grid failures. Grid appears to have been hit with a multiple power outage affecting San Francisco, New York, and Los Angeles. Officials report that business, traffic, and day-to-day life has come to a standstill in San Francisco, reportedly the worst hit of the 3 major cities currently experiencing outages. The hamster seems to be taking a break here. Wheel spinning. There we go. Power companies in all 3 regions have yet to elaborate on the cause. At substation was the original reason given by San Francisco officials. A series of subsequent power outages in Los Angeles, San Francisco, and New York left commuters stranded and traffic backed up on Friday morning. Although the outages occurred around the same time, there is, as of yet, no evidence that they were anything more than coincidence. The first outage occurred at around 7:20 a.m. in New York when the power went down at 7th Avenue and 53rd Street subway station, which sent a shockwave of significant delays out from the hub and into the rest of the subway system. By 11:30, the city's MTA confirmed that generators were running again in the station, although they were set to run delayed into the afternoon. Later in the morning, power outages were reported in Los Angeles International Airport, as well as in several other areas around the city. Inverse reported the San Francisco Fire Department was responding to more than 100 calls for service in the financial district and beyond, including 20 elevators with people stuck inside, but reported no immediate injuries. Everywhere sirens blared as engines maneuvered along streets jammed with traffic. Traffic lights were out at scores of intersections, and cars were backing up on downtown streets as drivers grew frustrated and honked at each other. FS Gate says the cause of the outage has not yet been made clear, though given the current geopolitical climate, it's not out of the question to suggest that cyber attack could be to blame. It has also been suggested that the current outages could be the result of a secretive nuclear EMP drill by the federal government. As we have previously reported, the entire national power grid has been mapped by adversaries of the United States, and it is believed that sleep trojans or malware may exist within the computer system that maintain the grid. In 2016 report, it was noted that our entire way of life has been left vulnerable to saboteurs who could cause cascading blackouts across the United States for days or weeks at a time. It isn't just EMPs and natural disaster that pose a threat to the grid, but there is also potential for attacks on individual power substations in the vast network of decentralized and largely unguarded power grid chain. A U.S. Department study established that there would be major extended blackouts if more than 3 key substations were destroyed. Whether by criminals, looters, terrorists, gangs, or pranksters, it would take very little to bring down the present system, and there is currently very little the system can do to protect against this wide open threat. Whether the current outages are a targeted infrastructure cyber attack or simply a coincidence, most Americans think the impossible can't happen. As the Prepper's Blueprint author Tess Pennington highlights, a grid down scenario won't just be a minor inconvenience if it goes on for more than a day or two. Consider for a moment how drastically your life would change without the continuous flow of energy the grid delivers. In short-term disaster, following critical elements of our just-in-time society would wreak havoc on the system. Of business commerce, breakdown of our basic infrastructure, communications, mass transit, supply chains, inability to access money by ATM machines, payroll service interruptions, interruptions in public facilities, schools, workplaces, and public gatherings, inability to have access to clean drinking water. Reason that we have long encouraged Americans to prepare for this potentially devastating scenario by considering emergency food reserves, clean water reserves, and even home defense strategies in the event of a widespread outage. The majority of Americans have about 30 days worth of food in their pantry. Imagine for a moment what a 4 might look like in any major city that goes dark. Clip from American Blackout shows what an extensive outage might look like. And there is a video here that you can take a look at for that. It says, prepare for the worst because this is one scenario you do not want to face. So, back when I was living in the country, a week-long blackout due to a winter storm in the wintertime. And believe me, it is not fun to, you can kind of muddle through the first day or two of it and say, okay, we'll bear with it, get the power back on. By day 3, you're starting to lose your mind. By the 7th day, you've done pulled out all your hair. In a little house on the prairie, you want your electric back. It is not a pretty sight. So you get as prepared as you possibly can, because even then, go. Make sure you got some books to read. Make sure you've got some way to put some lights in your house. Make sure, whether it's a lantern or candles or whatever, make sure you got some games or cards or something to play, because you don't have the computer, you don't have the TV, you don't have anything like you're used to. So used to, sitting around telling some stories at night, or tear, or playing cards with somebody, or or something by candlelight, it's going to be a long haul till they get the power back on. Have here is off of Western Journalism. It says Russian long-range bombers spotted off the coast of Alaska twice in 2 days. Ordinary. Here it says for the second day in a row, 2 long-range Russian bombers were spotted off the coast of Alaska Tuesday afternoon. The U.S. military announced it. The 2 nuclear-capable Tu-95H bombers were spotted 36 miles off the Alaskan coast by U.S. military radar, according to Fox News. The incident follows a similar incident Monday night in which 2 long-range Russian bombers were spotted 100 miles off the Alaskan coast. Monday evening's provocation prompted the U.S. Air Force to scramble 2 F-22 stealth fighter jets alongside an AWACS E-3 Century early morning aircraft to intercept the Russian bombers. After flying alongside the Russian planes for several minutes, the Russian planes diverted course back to their airbase in eastern Russia. The Air Force deployed a single E-3 Century in response to Russia's follow-up provocation Tuesday evening to ensure no other aircraft were flying under Russian bombers. The provocation followed Secretary of State Rex Tillerson's statement last week in Moscow that U.S.-Russian relations were at a low point. Right now, we are not getting along with Russia at all. We may have, or we may be at an all-time low in terms of relationships with Russia, he added. Um, uh, or let me rephrase that. President Trump at a news conference last week. There we go. U.S. military officials downplayed Monday evening's provocation as nothing out of the ordinary, noting that Russia has a history of flying its aircraft just outside U.S. airspace. Long-range Russian bombers were spotted just outside British airspace in similar incident February the 9th. The last time Russian bombers were spotted outside the U.S. airspace was on July the 4th, 2015, when Russians bombers were spotted off the coast of Alaska and California. Russian President Vladimir Putin wished then President Barack Obama a happy Independence Day as his bombers flew alongside the California coastline. Representative Adam Kinzinger, Republican of Illinois, viewed Monday's episode through a different lens. He told CNN's Wolf Blitzer that the Russians were trying to show their teeth as tensions between the U.S. and Russia continue to escalate. This was a show of force by Russians to show us that they are still here, Kinzinger said, describing the move as an attempt to come up as close as they could to our international border to see what our reaction would be. Games people play. Here is off of Liberty headlines. It says Trump flips. Illegal alien dreamers will not be deported. As my expectations for Trump were basement level anyway, his adoring nationalists and MAGA trolls might be a bit chafed by this, however. Then again, when you have no principles, you swallow anything. The AP featured an extensive interview with President Trump today, and he revealed his evolving views on foreigners who break the laws of sovereign nation. Young immigrants brought to the U.S. illegally as children can rest easy, President Donald Trump said Friday, telling the Dreamers they will not be targets for deportation under his immigration policies. As a candidate, Trump strongly criticized President Barack Obama for illegal executive amnesties, including actions that allowed young people brought to the country illegally as children to be spared from deportation. But after the election, Trump started speaking more favorably about these immigrants, popularly dubbed Dreamers. On Friday, he said that when it comes to them, this is a case of heart. Wait, what changed? He won, so no need to play the role, got it? This is actually a dramatic departure from Trump's campaign rhetoric. He was going to deport, then build a great wall. The next article we have was off a break. California Senate leader says Trump's immigration crackdown based on principles of white supremacy. We can get the hamster to bring it on up here so we can take a look at it. Here we go. California Senate leader Kevin DeLeon, Democrat of Los Angeles, has claimed that Trump's administration and immigration enforcement crackdown is based on the principles of white supremacy after the federal government threatened to withhold $20 million in criminal justice grants from the state of California. It has become abundantly clear that Attorney General Jeff Sessions and Trump administration are basing their law enforcement policies on principles of white supremacy, not American values, DeLeon said in a statement. Their constant and systematic targeting of diverse cities and states goes beyond constitutional norms and will be challenged at every level. Senator DeLeon's comments come after the Department of Justice warned the state of California that it could lose $20 million in criminal justice grants should it fail to enforce policies under the new administration's immigration crackdown. Attorney General Jeff Sessions has repeatedly warned localities protecting illegals from deportation, known as sanctuary cities, that they risk losing federal funding should they fail to comply with federal immigration law. The administration is also publishing a weekly list of crimes committed by illegal aliens residing in sanctuary cities. On a visit to the southern border on Friday, Sessions described DeLeon's claim as kind of extremist statement that I totally reject, urging jurisdictions such as California and New York to reconsider their position. Meanwhile, Californian Assemblyman James Gallagher ridiculed it as a ridiculous statement. Nobody here is talking about the statement becoming an immigration agency or doing ICE's job for them. It's about whether you comply with federal law, Gallagher told the LA Times. In February this year, DeLeon revealed that half his family are here illegally under false documents and would be eligible for deportation under government policy. He then went on to push legislation making California a sanctuary state, which prohibits state law enforcement agencies in California from cooperating with federal immigration authorities. Earlier this month, Senate Bill 54, known as Sanctuary State Bill, passed by 27 to 12 majority along party lines. The next article is off BizPac Review. It says, Trump ruffles his base by going soft on Dreamers, but is it part of a larger deal? From the very first day he announced his intention to run for presidency, Donald Trump's hawkish immigration stand both solidified his base and made him an object of fear, scorn, and derision to liberals. One of candidate Trump's promises early on was to immediately terminate DACA, the program which allows the hundreds of thousands of people who came to this country as children to avoid deportation, as so-called dreamers. We will immediately terminate President Obama's 2 illegal executive amnesties in which he defined federal law and the Constitution to give amnesty to approximately 5 million illegal immigrants, Trump August speech in Phoenix. In a Trump administration, all immigration laws will be enforced. As with any law enforcement activity, we will set priorities. But unlike this administration, no one will be immune or exempt from enforcement. And ICE and Border Patrol officers will be allowed to do their jobs. Anyone who has entered the United States illegally is subject to deportation. That is what it means to have laws and to have a country. But now Trump seems to have reversed his position entirely. In a Friday interview with Associated Press, Trump said that his administration is not after the dreamers. Instead, we are after the criminals. That is our policy. It is indeed a reversal from the campaign trail, but it seems like Trump has been gravitating toward it for a while. In addition to his communications team avoiding direct answers when questioned about the DACA issue, according to the Daily Caller, then President-elect Trump told Time in December that his administration would work something out that's going to make people happy and proud. They got brought here at a very young age. They've worked here They've gone to school here. Some were good students. Some have wonderful jobs. And they're in Never Never Land because they don't know what's going to happen. And even Trump's August Arizona speech seemed nuanced to some degree as a part of the above referenced quote, which compromised point 6 of a 10-point immigration policy. Trump said our enforcement priorities will include removing criminals, gang members, security threats, visa overstays, public charges, that is, those relying on public welfare or straining the safety net, along with millions of recent illegal arrivals and overstays who come here under the current administration. Zero tolerance for criminal aliens, which seemed to put an emphasis in overt criminality, not simply being brought here as a child. Moving forward, we will issue detainers for all illegal immigrants who are arrested for any crime whatsoever, and they will be placed into immediate removal proceedings, Trump said in August. Immigration hawks do not like Trump's current position. One puts out a tweet here that says, after calling for 50,000 more refugees and giving DACA amnesty to illegals, what will POTUS next 180 on immigration be? Please vote. Hashtag Thunder Up. And gives a multiple choice thing to vote on. It says the wall, immigration reform, travel ban, or all of the above. Another tweet says, Donald Trump made great strides for rule of law on immigration, but we need to end the illegal DACA amnesty. And there's a bunch more tweets about that. And then it says there is also the school of thought that says Trump's position could be part of a potentially larger immigration deal. After all, to get anything done legislatively, he will need some Democrat support to avoid a Senate filibuster. And there's some tweets about that. And once his on campaign, Trump repeatedly said he'd deal with the wall, criminals, and once under control would revisit America on how to deal with DACA. Others were in favor of Trump's position, or at least willing to trust him. One says, appears Nellon's upset over DACA dreamer situation. I'm trusting and letting Trump figure it out, get criminals out as soon as possible. And there's some more tweets about that. If you want to read up on that one, you could pull that article up. Next one we have here is off of Breitbart, and it says illegal alien charged for alleged rape, murder of Sanctuary County woman. And get the hamster to pull it up here. It says investigators say that an illegal alien sexually assaulted the victim and strangled her to death. Bomero Megamea, age 29, was arrested in Jacksonville, Florida on Wednesday and was charged with the first-degree murder of Tiffany Thrasher, age 33. Other charges Megamea faces include home invasion and aggravated criminal sexual assault, according to CBS Chicago. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement and Removal Operations filed a detainer on Bomero Megamea after his arrest by the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office on April 19th of 2017. I said in an email to Breitbart, Texas. Thrasher was found dead in her apartment by police after her friends requested a well-being check on her for missing Easter services. Investigators say that Megamea lived in the same apartment complex as Thrasher, although it was not clear if the two had met. Authorities say they tied Megamea to the murder based on physical evidence discovered and on interviews in which Megamea made incriminating statements. Nearby, Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel has openly welcomed illegal aliens to his sanctuary city. We are still and always will be welcoming city, whether you're an immigrant from Poland, Pakistan, Ireland, or India, Mexico, or Moldova, where my grandfather came. If you believe in the American dream, we welcome you to Chicago, Emanuel said. Emanuel has gone so far as to create a new ID program to ensure that illegal aliens get government services without exposing their identities to federal authorities. Unveiled at a Chicago City Council meeting on Wednesday, and it protects illegal aliens from federal oversight by not collecting any copies of identification documents presented when illegals apply for the identification card, Breitbart previously reported. The next article is also off of Breitbart. Well, it says 17 alleged Mexican cartel operatives charged in Colorado. Federal grand jury returned an indictment charging 17 defendants for drug trafficking in direct connection with a Mexican drug cartel. The arrests and indictments of 17 defendants were the result of a year-long investigation into a Mexican drug cartel operation that smuggled narcotics into the United States from California to Colorado, according to a statement from the Department of Justice. Jeff Dorshner, spokesman for the Colorado U.S. Attorney's Office, told Breitbart Texas, during the course of this investigation, law enforcement determined that a Mexican cartel was involved. The identity of that cartel is not being released as it remains the subject of an ongoing criminal investigation. According to the DEA, the Sinaloa Mexican drug cartel is known to be the dominant drug cartel in both California and Colorado. Of the 17 defendants, 11 are from Mexico, 4 from El Salvador, and 2 are from California. 7 of the defendants are considered fugitives. The defendants are alleged to have brought large quantities of cocaine and methamphetamine into the United States through California using secret compartments in vehicles. The drugs were kept in stash houses in Aurora, Colorado, before being distributed at a local grocery store. A money transfer station at the grocery store was used to send some of the proceeds back to Mexico, smuggled back in street vehicle compartments. In secret vehicle compartments. We are committed to dismantling and removing the threat posed by these criminal organizations flooding American communities with dangerous narcotics, said Attorney General Jeff Sessions. This organization is alleged to have moved large amounts of meth and cocaine from Mexico to Colorado, with devastating impact on communities in their wake. I want to congratulate the outstanding federal, state, and local law enforcement cooperation that resulted in this highly successful operation. This kind of aggressive law enforcement takedown is critical for breaking the backs of these criminal organizations. The defendants from Mexico are Jose Tapia Rubio, age 58, naturalized, Salento Hernandez Mayo, age 45, Freddy Paz Herrera, age unknown, Banchalas, age unknown, thought to be from Mexico, Rodrigo Mora Sanchez, age 49, naturalized, Oscar Mora Campos, age unknown, Edward Jimenez Sanchez, age 37, Chengudio, age unknown, although thought to be from Mexico, 9584, age unknown. What kind of name is that? Okay. He's thought to be from Mexico. Leopold Rodriguez Padilla, age unknown, and Herberto Mora Sanchez, age 43. The defendants from El Salvador are Laura Zamora Cruz, age unknown, Claudia Lisseth Laura, age 41, naturalized, Vilma L. 67, and Jose Chica Orwella, age unknown. The defendants from California are Juan Carlos Medina Sobaneras, age 31, and Eric Pereira. The indictment contains 45 counts, including an asset forfeiture allegation against the stash houses that were used to hide the drugs. The next article is off Breitbart. It says, report, ICE failures under Obama leave 2.2 million supervised aliens on streets. New report from the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE Office of Inspector General OIG revealed startling failures during the Obama administration that allowed 2.2 million deportable aliens to remain on the streets in a supervised status. Aliens with criminal convictions accounted for nearly 400,000 of that total. The report, attached below in this article, issued by ICE Inspector General John Roth last week, details several failures under the previous administration that a tremendous backlog for deportation officers. Those failures include imbalanced workloads for DO's achievable goals, a lack of clear policies and procedures, and insufficient training. ICE deportation officers work on deporting aliens who are in a detained or non-detained status. This report focuses on the efforts by ICE DOs working with immigration courts' non-detained docket. The non-detained aliens are considered to be under supervision, Ross states in his memorandum dated April the 13th. His report covers the period where massive numbers of unaccompanied alien children, or UAC, and family unit aliens, FMUA, began crossing the border in 2014. During fiscal year 2014, Border Patrol agents apprehended nearly 500,000 illegal border crossers, a 16% increase over the previous year and a 34% increase over fiscal year 2012, the report states. The surge led to a tremendous increase in workload for the ICE DOs charged with detaining, deporting, and supervising these aliens. As a result, the Obama administration announced its Priority Enforcement Program, or the PEP, in November of 2014, claiming to focus on removal of certain criminal aliens, including those convicted of felonies, multiple misdemeanors, and significant misdemeanors, such as domestic violence, sexual abuse, and sexual exploitation. It also prioritized aliens who entered or re-entered the country illegally and could not prove continuous presence since January the 1st of 2014. Breitbart, Texas editor-in-chief Brandon Darby reported on PEP, calling it Catch and Release 2.0. Border Patrol agents and sheriffs across the Southwest complained that Obama administration placed handcuffs on law enforcement instead of the criminals. As a result of this failed program, ICE DOs are now supervising more than 2.2 million aliens as of the end of August of 2016. Of that number, 368,574 of the aliens are convicted criminals. During fiscal year 2015, the first year of the PEP, ICE DOs removed or returned only 235,413 aliens, including 139,368 convicted criminals. The ICE OIG report details systematic failures within the organization that creates inefficiencies in capturing and removing supervised aliens. ICE does not collect and analyze data about employee workloads to determine where resources should be applied and apply reasonably achievable caseloads for DOs. The report concludes. Roth continues, stating that ICE failed to provide well-defined policies and procedures to its employees. The agency also neglected to communicate the department's priorities for deportation to its officers. These management deficiencies and unresolved obstacles make it difficult for ICE to deport aliens expeditiously, Ross stated. ICE is almost certainly not deporting all these aliens who could be deported and will likely not be able to keep up with the growing number of deportable aliens. Ross cites an imbalance between caseload assignments to DOs working non-detail, or try that again. Ross cites an imbalance between caseloads assigned to DOs working non-detained aliens and those assigned to supervised detained aliens. He said that despite the different requirements for supervising the two classifications of aliens, ICE could not explain the reasons for manpower assignments in the locations visited during the inspection. Many of those working with non-detained aliens reported they had difficulty fulfilling all their responsibilities, such as working with embassies and the consulates to obtain travel documents necessary for deportation, interviewing aliens under their supervision, and running criminal checks on aliens in their docket, Roth wrote in the report. Yet ICE has not collected or analyzed workload data to determine the time and the effort DOs need to adequately supervise and facilitate the deportation of non-detained aliens. Without workload data, ICE cannot ensure its caseload distribution is balanced and that non-detained workloads are achievable. ICE also cannot measure performance and apply lessons learned to ensure effective and efficient supervision and deportation of aliens. ICE personnel at all 4 field offices agreed that the workloads of DOs supervising non-detained aliens are unmanageable, yet ICE has not tried to determine what is achievable and what would alleviate the burden, the IG continued. The OIG report supports this, stating that DOs are frequently asked to perform collateral duties, including transporting and escorting departing aliens on commercial and chartered flights, which can take several days, rotating on window duty to check in alien arrivals for interviews, and transporting aliens to and from detention centers for immigration court proceedings. Across the board, Roth reported that DOs report they do not have the time necessary to obtain required travel documents to deport the aliens under their supervision. According to the DOs, their collateral duties leave them time only to deal with the daily scheduled check-in appointments and unscheduled visits by aliens, answer phone calls from aliens, and put new cases into the electronic system, the report explains. One DO also reports that because of competing work responsibilities, criminal background checks are not conducted every time a non-detained alien checks in with the field office. Roth states in the report that ICE management fails to adequately collect data to determine how much staff is needed to handle the non-detained alien under their supervision. He continues, explaining that in 2009, ICE did develop a staffing model to reorganize the DOs throughout the field offices. However, the staffing model has never been used to allocate human resources at the field offices. Ross' report points out that agencies' failure to adequately communicate its policies or to provide DOs with readily accessible guidelines to assist the DOs in supervising and deporting aliens. Guidance is often communicated to field office personnel orally or by email rather than through formal documented policies and procedures, the IG report states. These deficiencies hinder proper supervision of non-detained aliens, including those who may be fugitives or who commit crimes. Field office staff confirmed that ICE's available policies and procedures did not help them properly manage their non-detained cases. The report confirms that the ICE deportation policies and procedures are outdated and unclear. Officials we interviewed said ICE considers the 2003 Detention and Removal Operations Policy and Procedure Manual the official guide to operations, Roth explained, but ICE has not periodically reviewed the manual or revised it since 2008. He said that rather than properly amend and update the manual, ICE officials would simply affix a memo to the front of the appropriate chapter to indicate changes in policies. Because of the failure to properly manage and communicate policies and changes, ICE field office policies and procedures tend to vary widely from office to office. The report accuses management providing inadequate training and incomplete documentation of training for DOs. From July to September of 2016, ICE headquarters scheduled non-detained training for all 24 field offices, but did not plan for reoccurring training nor document training attendance to ensure all required staff attend, Ross stated. In our opinion, the training did not fully cover all necessary information. The report explains complications in attempting to deport aliens to certain countries. It states that for some nations, it is clearly impossible to reparate foreign nationals. The report stipulates for ICE to deport an alien to his or her home country, the country must agree to reparation. As of August of 2016, ICE had identified 23 uncooperative countries to which it generally cannot deport aliens. To help deport aliens to these countries, ICE may request diplomatic intervention by the Department of State, which determines whether and what action to take against the country. ICE officials also said that some countries, such as China, Bangladesh, and India, restrict the number of aliens for whom they will issue travel documents and accept for reparation. Finally, ICE has identified 62 countries that are cooperative, but with which it has experienced delays in obtaining required travel documents. Deporting aliens to these 62 countries also requires more time and effort working with embassies and consulates to obtain travel documents and approval for alien reparation. In July of 2016, Senator John Corwin, Republican of Texas, introduced a bill to provide remedies for countries that refuse to accept the deportation of their citizens. Breitbart Texas' Lana Shadwick reported the measure is similar to legislation Phil Poe, Republican of Texas, that called for restricting diplomatic visas to countries that deny or unreasonably delay the reparation of their citizens subject to deportation from the U.S. The bill would require that the Department of Homeland Security establish procedures to determine whether a foreign country systematically and unreasonably refuses or delays the reparation of nationals who are in the United States and have been convicted of a felony or crime of violence or are a threat to national security or public safety, a statement from the Senator Corwin's office reported. Once it has been established that a country meets this criteria, DHS and the State Department would then notify their government that the United States may deny visas to their citizens. That same month, the Center for Immigration Studies' Jessica Vaughn reported that nearly 1 million illegal aliens ignored deportation orders from an immigration judge, including nearly 200,000 criminal aliens. Her report confirms the refusal of countries to accept reparations as one of the primary reasons contributing to her high number of non-removals by ICE. Ross' report concludes with a statement indicating inadequacies in ICE's management of the agency's deportation operations. These weaknesses are hampering ICE's ability to adequately supervise aliens awaiting immigration hearings, as well as efforts to deport those who should be deported, including some convicted criminals, the AG concluded. Factors beyond ICE's control may virtually prohibit and then it gives a website here from the OIG DHS website of Inspector General, Department of Homeland Security, deportation to some countries. In general, however, a more organized, diligent, and complete approach to management would help ICE deport aliens expeditiously and keep up with growing numbers of aliens who should be deported. And then it's got this report attached that gives a series of recommendations, and it ends up saying ICE officials concurred with all 5 recommendations contained in the report. Ross stated management states they have begun implementing changes to correct the identified weaknesses. My God, what a mess. Holy moly. You'd think it would be simpler, wouldn't you? Now, if you hung with that whole thing there and listened to that, if you can't see that there's a reason for a border wall to stop them people from flowing in here like water running through a sieve, there's something wrong with you. Because we can't, if we don't get it stopped, if you don't put the stopper in to stop the flow, you control. We've got one hell of a time getting a control on what's going on here, and we've still got the flow coming in. Man. Next one is off BizPac Review, and it says Muslim workers plan march on Amazon to demand space to pray 5 times a day. 3 Muslim security guards and their union are planning to march on Amazon.com for not providing space to pray on break. The guards, who work for Security Industry Specialists, the company contracted by Amazon to handle security, and the Service Employees International Union, accused SIS and Amazon of not giving the employees space to pray 5 times a day, PJ Media reported. Former guard Asaj Hassan has said he was fired for requesting prayer time. I was fired, not given a reason why, he said. I'm speaking out for all Muslim security workers and for workers of any religion. When you ask for space to pray on your work break, that request should be treated with respect. The union said it planned to deliver a strongly worded letter to retail giant during the May 1st march. Unlike Unlike other companies in locations with large Muslim populations, Amazon has not supported Muslim service workers requesting space to pray during their law-mandated work breaks, the union said in an email statement to PJ Media. Despite granting the high-earning tech workers conference rooms to pray in, there appears to be a double standard for the contracted security officers who protect the tech giant, the statement read. A similar display against Amazon was held in May when SEIU and hundreds of devout Muslim clergy, laborist unionists, and some of the online retailers' employees took part in a prayer rally against SIS's prayer room policies, according to the South Seattle Emerald. There's been issues regarding religious prayer, with some not being given space to practice, Amazon security specialist Ismahan Ismail told the Emerald. When I did speak up, I was actually retaliated against. I had someone step on my prayer items. But another Muslim guard disputed that account. I want to set the record straight, Guard Usama Bomi said at the February rally. Amazon provided us with a prayer room. I pray in the room here. Amazon helped us by providing prayer rooms across the building. SIS CEO Tom Seltz suggested that the complaints are unfounded when he spoke to Think Progress about the current protest. Before prayer rooms were introduced, employees generally used a vacant conference room or a quiet room when available, he said. This has been the case for the past 4 years since we've been at Amazon, and the recent addition of dedicated prayer rooms has just made access even easier. I don't know, they might want to take note from the company that I reported on yesterday that gave them their marching orders. Next one's off Liberty Headlines. It says, Muslim couple arrested for genital mutilation of 7-year-old girls in Michigan. In the latest development in a mushrooming scandal, police on Friday arrested 2 members of a Michigan mosque and accused them of helping a doctor perform genital mutilation on 2 7-year-old girls. The arrests come just a week after the arrest of Jumana Narjawala, a Michigan doctor who is the first in the U.S. to be charged with female genital mutilation. Police say the couple arrested Friday, Fakhruddin Attar and his wife Farida, own the business in Livonia, Michigan, where the procedure was performed, Brawny Medical Center. Attar did not respond to multiple phone and LinkedIn messages from Heat Street sent throughout the week. A woman who answered the phone at Burhani Medical Clinic Tuesday hung up and would not answer further calls. Dr. Attar is not aware of any crimes that were committed at his clinic, said Mary Shader, the lawyer representing him. She spoke on her cell phone as she headed to court, where Attar was already waiting. Brenda Attar is being represented by another attorney who could not be reached by the deadline. Fakhruddin Attar is the treasurer of the Anjumana-e-Jamni Mosque. Jumana Narjawala, the doctor who allegedly performed the procedures, is also a member of that mosque, and her husband, Moz Narjawala, is one of its directors, according to the website. The practice, also known as Katana, and I'm guessing that's how that's pronounced, I don't know, female genital cutting or female circumcision, was openly endorsed in 2016 by Sadina Mafati Safadin, the global spiritual leader of the Dawoodi Bahara community, to which the Attars and Narawala belong. The act carries both cultural and religious significance to adherents. Last May, the Ajman-e-Jamai Mosque issued a resolution acknowledging that female genital mutilation was prohibited in the United States, explicitly stating the ban could extend to Katana. It advised all parents and guardians to abide by federal law and not engage in the practice. And the final one I have in this episode is off of Breitbart. And it says 65 test positive for TB at Texas Border Senior Center. An uncomfortable high number of positive test results for tuberculosis came back to a West Texas Border Senior Daycare Center, putting city health officials on alert as they monitor the cases to see if any show signs of active TB. The City of El Paso Department of Public Health confirmed Wednesday that 65 TB tests came back positive following the preliminary test of 199 individuals in April. The health department began testing people at a local adult daycare center after one person in the center's care tested positive for the sometimes fatal pulmonary disease. The venue where the swarm of positive TB diagnoses occurred is the La Victoria Adult Daycare Center, according to the El Paso Times. Officials believe all those tested may have had contact with patient 0. However, officials remain vigilant. More center members and workers could have been exposed to the bacteria. While this is a relatively high rate of positivity, we must also consider, among other factors, that any elderly population will likely have higher positive rates due to prior exposure, said Robert Renendez, El Paso Public Health Director, in a prepared statement. He cautioned a positive test could be unrelated to this particular exposure event. So far, none of the individuals testing positive exhibited active TB symptoms, say El Paso Health Department officials. Further testing will be conducted as part of an ongoing investigation to determine if others contracted the illness or if any of the 65 people begin to show active TB signs. What we want the attendees and the community at large to know is that there is a systematic process in place to ensure everyone's safety, added Resendez. These people who tested positive will receive detailed information on their results and undergo further health exams, which include physical evaluations by Department of Public Health TB nurses, along with chest x-rays at no cost to them, says local health officials. TB is caused by the Mycobacterium tuberculosis bacteria, which attacks the lungs, but it can damage both organs in the body, including the kidneys, brain, or spine. The disease spreads from coughs, sneezes, wheezes, and other respiratory fluids of a person with an active infection. It tends to affect people who spend time with an infected person each day. Although El Paso health officials indicate catching TB may require close contact for extended periods of time. Breitbart, Texas reported TB can spread quickly once the bacteria becomes active because an individual will manifest symptoms like chest pain, muscle fatigue, weight loss, lethargy, and coughing up blood. Not everyone infected with TB gets sick if the bacteria remains dormant, considered latent TB. Previously, El Paso health officials commented that El Paso's rates for tuberculosis is roughly double the nation's and called this rate consistent with other border communities. TB rates are higher along the Texas-Mexico border. Co-infection with TB and diabetes is more common along the border than in the rest of the state, according to the Texas Department of State Health Services. The World Health Organization lists TB one of the world's top 10 causes of death, but it is curable with proper treatment. DSHS adds some TB strains are resistant to treatment drugs. In 2015, 9 people in Texas were diagnosed with multi-drug resistant TB, but none of the state's cases were extensively drug resistant, the most difficult form of the illness to treat. People with compromised immune systems are most at risk for contracting TB. That includes individuals with HIV/AIDS, diabetes, severe kidney disease, certain forms of cancer and cancer treatments, malnutrition, and drugs that treat ailments like rheumatoid arthritis, psoriasis, and Crohn's disease, the Mayo Clinic reports. Infants, young children, and the elderly are part of the high-risk group. That's all I have for you in this episode. If you like what I'm doing here, give it a thumbs up. Share it on your social media so everybody gets to hear the news. And don't forget to subscribe. That way you'll stay informed. I'll see you in the next episode.